Okay, cool. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to get a few more people on here. I'm going to share this amongst my other pages. Got a pretty stout line of thunderstorms in Middle Tennessee. We've had some isolated damaging winds reports, a few power outages up there near Lawrenceburg. And the worst of this is tracking north of Pulaski towards Fayetteville. So again, let a few more people get on here, and I'm going to share this across some other pages. I'm going to go to my other page. Get severe thunderstorm watch out to the west. I think what's going to happen is this line is eventually going to put in a rain-cooled boundary here. We may get some isolated damaging winds with this as it moves through, but it's probably going to create a rain-cooled atmosphere ahead of the other line that's going to try to approach from the west. So let me get this shared on. My other pages here. There's that one there. And a few more on here. Getting dark over there in the shoals right now too. And there's not a lot of wind with that, but there's some very heavy rain coming down over there in the shoals right now. We'll get to that on the camera in just a second. That shared, get the Northwest Alabama page, and then we'll be ready to go. They got severe thunderstorm warnings out. There's a lot more lightning as you get up north, especially into northern Giles County and up to Columbia, and that storm's kind of intensifying between Columbia and Shelbyville as well. So we'll have to watch that. Sharing here. Someone's saying something about my audio. I better check that. Audio is very echoey. I don't know why. We're just going to see these storms kind of come through here in Sand Mountain as well. There's not a lot of wind shear out here. So let me go ahead and kind of establish what's going on. We've got a line of thunderstorms up here into southern Middle Tennessee, and it stretches down into Florence now. And we're starting to see this line drop southeast, and it's going to encounter this muggy air mass, but the cloud cover that's come back ahead of this is actually some good news. It keeps the maximum instability down a little bit from what it looked like earlier with the sunshine that we had. But you're going to see this big black cloud hanging down. I'm going to get to that camera over here in the shoals real quick. Show you what's going on with that as we kind of expand the view. The rain has caught up with the camera. Let me tilt it a little bit to the south. Oh yeah, you've got this big gust front here. So along this shelf cloud, you can kind of see all this updraft, and there's a downdraft in here too. So you're going to get a really cool view of these clouds, kind of puffy, pillowy clouds here. Good idea to get off Wheeler Lake if you know someone out on the lake, and there's a lot of people out on the lake today. I don't see too many on Wilson Lake in here or Pickwick Lake, so probably heeding the warning here. I'm going to go ahead and get to the other part. The winds are probably 30 miles an hour with this. Let's stop that real quick. I want to get to the other side of this line. Look a little bit close again. This is Wilson Lake here, so the wind is now picking up all over Wilson Lake. I don't see anybody on there, so there's some good news there. I don't see anybody out there. They've all heeded the warning here. We'll get back to the radar. I'll go ahead and zoom in here a little bit more. We're really losing the lightning on the southern edge, so that's good. Lightning is usually a pretty good indicator of severe intensity anyway with the storms. So it's a heavy rain in Florence and Muscle Shoals. You get up here just to the west of Pulaski, and that's really where the most intense weather is with this particular thunderstorm here. Thanks, Alice. Okay, sounds good here. Shelf cloud moving into Killen. Yeah, there's just going to be this big black cloud, low-hanging cloud all the way down this line. So it's moving into Killen now, and it's up here towards Pulaski. You can see it in Anderson. I bet we can almost start to see it from Athens. And it's still off in the distance, but the more cloud cover we have ahead of this, the better. So we've got a hard rain going on. I don't see anything severe, at least in this main line right now for us. Let me switch radars here. Go to the high top radar. It's kind of bowing out a little bit here as far as this storm here goes. And that's just passing just to the north of Pulaski. And that's where we have a lot of wind here. Well, let me get in closer here. So we've got probably severe wind gusts going on the north side of Pulaski. You can kind of see as we go back. I'm going to go back in time here, pause that. Notice how, again, how dark blue that area is. This is where we were getting the power outage reports. And this is high in the air, this 75-mile-per-hour wind. And as we go forward, kind of see that wind dies down a bit, but it's probably still looking at some 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts there. Yeah, 68. Probably about 55 to 60-mile-per-hour winds reaching the ground. That's on the north side of Pulaski. Let's go ahead and I'm going to track this for you in Fayetteville. And if you're over at Timms Ford Lake, we're going to have to watch this whole area here. We'll put that at about 47 miles an hour, and I'm going to loop that and make sure I got a good track. So possibility of damaging winds moving into Fayetteville around 344. If that holds together, I'm hoping that's going to weaken some. And then that puts it over here towards Tullahoma around 407, around Huntland 409. So the west side of Timms Ford Lake around 415 or so. It's about an hour from Smith Lake right now. Timms Ford Lake. So if you're camping over there, may want to think about battening down the hatches. Another big storm north of Lewisburg. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. I mean, there's some intense lightning there, but that's all it really is right now is just a lot of lightning. Very heavy rain. Shear rate's fairly low. Again, there's not a lot of storm relative felicity, we call it. There's that severe thunderstorm warning for Fayetteville now. The damaging straight line wind potential coming in as that storm continues to kind of flare up. Hoping it's going to lose some of its punch here in the next 30 minutes or so. Additional storms continue down here. A lot of low clouds just to the east, west of Joe Wheeler State Park, so west of Rogersville. Again, a lot of heavy rain coming with that. Yeah, good. Jessica said to restart the live if you have audio issues. Okay, this from the Weather Service says we have started watch coordination with Storm Prediction Center, anticipating a severe thunderstorm watch for the whole area here shortly. More details coming out. So that watch will probably go till about 8 o'clock this evening. Again, severe thunderstorm watch coming out. Always got to watch the back edge, these little areas. We did have a tornado warning earlier with the storm in western Tennessee, but we can get these, what we call these little gust-nados, just a gust of wind, maybe 60 miles an hour. They kind of flare up here, but don't necessarily think that's exactly what's happening there near Killen. So again, this is this area just southeast of Killen, west of Rogersville, probably looking at gusty winds on the tail end of this boundary. I want to take a look out west here. Still some thunderstorms developing out here, but they're having a rough time getting going, but they'll eventually get going. And what's happening is this entire area here is shifting east-southeast. So I think once this moves through, it should take the punch out of the atmosphere before the storms farther west can move in here late this afternoon into the evening. Get back in here and look at this velocity. Yeah, by far the worst of the wind is up here near Pulaski as that storm's bowing out. Some new development there. So we'll continue to monitor this as it all moves in. Yeah, it's been an active month, that's for sure. We got more storms coming tomorrow. Let me check with Nashville, see what kind of reports we're getting. Okay, Franklin, Tennessee, estimated wind gust 35 miles an hour. We've got a tree down on a van with occupants trapped in the van in Lawrenceburg, that according to emergency management in Lawrenceburg, Lawrence County, Tennessee. They've got numerous trees down with that. So again, this storm moving into Lincoln County has a lot of wind damage reports with it from near Lawrenceburg. Velocity's down just a little bit, but we definitely have a bowing segment in that line. I'll go ahead and give you another storm track for it. It looks like it's moving a little bit more east now, but still a bit east-southeast. So let's moving towards Lewisburg. I'm going to track that at about 49 miles an hour. Give you a little bit more heads up here farther east. So Fayetteville 341, it's now 317. Huntland 405, Estill Springs 408, Winchester 411. So we're looking between 4 and 415 there on Timms Ford Lake. I would probably be getting off the lake there, Timms Ford Lake now as this moves in. Probably a lot of people camping over there too. There's not a lot of lightning with this anymore. Turn it back on. The most of the lightning's north of Lewisburg. But again, this is a bowing segment within this line, and that's where the highest wind concentration is going to be. Farther down the line, still not much change here, but again, just a real dark sky there with that. The tornado threat's very low. It would be a spin up if we had one. Waiting for that watch to come out. Here's the current watch. That is in Mississippi, but we're going to see this extend probably into southern middle Tennessee, all of North Alabama, and it'll probably go until 8 or 9 o'clock tonight. I will show you the latest forecast model. I adjusted this a little bit because it's a little bit off. Oh, this is the new update here. In fact, let me go in and edit this. Okay. This is the latest model guidance. You're looking at it as the same time I'm looking at it. It's off a little bit here. So let me go in and do what's called grid adjust to this. I'll take it up to the current time, and you see how off it is. I'm going to do that, and so what I can do is drop this south, move it east a little bit. So what you want to do is kind of line it up with what the current situation is. It's still a bit too aggressive out west even with the rain, but this just gives you a general idea. I think This cluster of thunderstorms is going to come in and drop east-southeast. And then notice out here about 7 o'clock, that secondary line comes in, but it runs into the rain-cooled air and weakens. So this watch is probably going to go out to 8 or 9 o'clock, but I think our threat for severe weather is probably over by about 6 or 7 o'clock this evening. So again, that's the latest model guidance there. I don't anticipate a lot of development out ahead of this main line as far as those isolated thunderstorms go, just because it's cloudy out there. We're pretty capped. There's not much going on farther south here. So again, if you're down here on Lewis Smith Lake, I think you're in pretty good shape for several more hours. Wheeler Lake, going to have to keep an eye on this, especially on the northern side here as you get up here towards the Elk River. Again, I'm kind of speaking more to people who are out in the elements right now, out on the lake, things like that. And the worst thunderstorms are up here in Tennessee, in Middle Tennessee. Crossing I-65 now as you get just to the north of the Highway 64 exit, the Jack Daniels exit off of I-65. Wind's still very intense in two areas, really. This Lewisburg area is really seeing some significant wind coming in now. That's just now crossing I-65. So those winds are probably close to 70 miles an hour. Might actually get some trees down on I-65. And still some really strong wind at I-65 and Highway 64. Again, that's moving east. It's going to be close to Fayetteville here in about 30 minutes. And then in less than an hour, Timms Ford Lake. So let me check the comments. I'm actually going to switch over to the WFF page here real quick. Check those comments as well. Some of you are probably watching on YouTube. Let me change this up just a little bit. So we're tracking a line of thunderstorms coming in from the north, and the tailing end here in Florence, probably just rain cooling you, some gusty winds there, maybe 30 miles an hour. The most concentrated high wind is up here north of Pulaski on I-65 between there and Columbia. A real rough go here on the interstate. But new storms firing up here on the west side of Fayetteville. And all this is tracking towards Timms Ford Lake. Should be there around just a little after 4 o'clock. So about 40 minutes from now in those areas. Very dark shelf cloud moving into Limestone County, probably northern Lawrence County, and definitely on the way into Madison County at some point, just before, I think around 3:50 in the Harvest-Monrovia area. I did that storm track earlier for that. Check some of your comments. Somebody's asking about Langston and Scottsboro. Eventually this will be making its way there, probably around closer to 4:45, 5 o'clock maybe, on that northern edge of Lake Gunnersville. And Lake Gunnersville probably between 5 and 6 o'clock, the way it looks now. And again, you can get those lightning alerts on our First Alert Weather app as well. I'm going to go back to radar here for you guys. Yeah, Albertville probably around 5 o'clock. Line's getting a little bit fatter. Usually when you have a real narrow, skinny line of thunderstorms, that indicates the higher maximum wind potential. Kayla's asking about, Sand Mountain Magic. There's not a lot of wind shear with this. So again, I can't rule out a spin up along the line that some gustnado type feature that would be like a 3-minute gustnado kind of thing. But there's no overall significant threat for tornadoes today. Take a look at this velocity again. That wind's flaring back up here. So again, pretty high threat for damaging winds here, moving into Frank Ewing, north of Delrose. So again, this is going to move right along Highway 64. Wind's really picking up here. Probably looking at 65 mile per hour at the surface with this storm, just now crossing I-65. Very strong bow echo. Let me track this again for you. I'm going to storm track this high wind. New warning just came out for Shelbyville. Okay, so here's our threat for damaging winds. Fayetteville 345, Tullahoma 408, Huntland 410, Estill Springs 414, Winchester 418, Deckard, Tennessee 420. Again, get off the lake. If you're on Timms Ford Lake, you need to get off the lake, find shelter. Number one, the lightning, and number two, the wind. This is fairly strong indications of high wind. Check weather service again out of. Well, the storm is eventually moving towards Owens Crossroads, this line. This line's eventually coming through everyone. Yeah, Weather Service says they're monitoring the rotation in the northern portion of the storm, but I think that's more the bow echo. So I think what they're monitoring is the potential for that to become a bookend vortex, so to speak. I'm going to check some other stuff here too on that. These are things you don't really see in model data. Going to go ahead and put the radar imagery back up. So again, that storm's moving towards Fayetteville, Winchester, probably just north of Huntland. Let me check that out here on my phone radar. It doesn't look over. Again, this looks more like high wind in that bow echo. Here's our severe thunderstorm watch. We'll see how long that goes out. They have 11 o'clock. I don't think it's going to last that long. But again, they've got a severe thunderstorm watch till 11 o'clock. All the counties in yellow. Kind of odd that Hamilton didn't get added. And maybe they're just waiting to send out the watch information from Birmingham. So there we go. Severe thunderstorm watch till 11 o'clock. Again, I don't think it's going to last that long since we're already looking at thunderstorms coming in. Again, low-end tornado threat. What we're watching is this storm, this bow echo that's over here moving towards Fayetteville. High wind. So high wind coming into Fayetteville in about 25 minutes. And what I mean by bow echo is you see, basically this is bowing out here. So the wind is concentrated right in this general area here. Very strong wind. Shear rate's higher in the other one. There's a lot of wind in the other storm too. So there's basically two storms here producing significant wind. One of them is moving more towards Lynchburg. Take the lightning off, you can see that better. So again, fairly large area of high wind from Lewisburg just to the west of Fayetteville. Weather Service is bumping the wind potential up to 70 miles an hour. Yeah, that's definitely high wind signature. It's the area in blue. The deeper the blue, the higher the wind, and that's probably going to do some wind damage there in Fayetteville, some power outages. As we go back farther here to the south, you can see there's just no blue showing up. We don't have any severe thunderstorm warnings along this line. The main brunt, so to speak, right now is just up here along Highway 64 in Fayetteville. And we're probably going to see some gusty winds, maybe approach 40 miles per hour in this area here as this tracks southeast, just due to the momentum of this. Let me check our other cameras here. Getting rain cooled in the shoals right now. I can definitely see that cloud. Again, this is going to be a long, dark cloud up here into southern Middle Tennessee. And we always see that real dark, this big shelf cloud. So again, we've got a bow echo here. We've got intense wind, probably 60 to 70 miles an hour on the way into Fayetteville. If we can get this thunderstorm here to kind of block some of that may limit that. So if that bow echo runs into an established thunderstorm, we're probably going to see at least some weakening of that wind. I hope so, because if not, we're going to see some tree damage for sure up there in Fayetteville. So we have to watch that. It sure does. I always get is it safe to be in a mobile home? It's never really all that safe to be in a mobile home when the winds are over 60 miles per hour, because what's going to happen is your biggest concern if you live in a mobile home are trees falling on your mobile home. And we've had so much rain. After today, we'll likely have this will be ranked as the 4th wettest May on record here in North Alabama. So again, your main threat here is you get these trees that'll fall on mobile homes and they slice them right in half. So that's the dangerous part today. And when you get winds at 80 miles per hour, that's typically when your mobile home can become airborne. That's usually what happens. That skirting at the bottom blows off, and it's just like an airplane wing, and it's the lift forces it. And a lot of it, I think they're supposed to be anchored 3 feet in the ground, but when you've had so much rain, that loosens up this ground. Our ground is pretty strange around here, where it moistens up very, very quickly, but at the same time, it hardens very quickly. After it stops raining, it gets really hard just due to the nature of the clay in our soil. I'm going to switch back over to the WFF page, see if I got any questions over there. I'm going to go back to radar here for you too. So again, we're looking at the potential for 70 mile per hour winds in Lincoln County, Tennessee with this thunderstorm. Winds down maybe just a little bit. And I think, as I mentioned, we've got this thunderstorm ahead of the main line, and what that's doing is there's going to be a downdraft that goes out of that storm to the west and to the east, basically in all directions. And if you can get this wind out of this storm at 30 miles an hour, kind of slowing down the wind out here to the west, that would be some good news. That would limit that damage potential. And we're starting to see some of this velocity drop off a little bit, so we're hoping that's the case. But as we go over here, this is close to Frank Ewing, just to the east of Frank Ewing. Again, this is Highway 64 north of Delrose. And this is going to move into Fayetteville. So again, you've got, let's update the storm track here. I need to back out even more. Let me do that. I'm going to expand this a little bit here. I'll make this width a little bit wider so we can catch more people in there. Winchester. So Winchester roughly 420 now. Cowan, Tennessee, 427. The higher wind is up here north, and that's going to be Tullahoma, Estill Springs, the north side of Timms Ford Lake. But just a nasty line there. I'm going to go ahead and delete that storm track. Watching this entire line down here to the south, not much lightning at all as you get down here into the shoals. I'm going to get some water real quick and I'll be right back. So again, severe thunderstorm watch until 11 o'clock. But I mentioned earlier, I don't think it's going to last that long. Just kind of one of those put the watch out and adjust from here. And hopefully this line here we have now is going to rain cool the atmosphere and keep that secondary line from kind of punching in later on this evening. But anytime you get this look that this line here has near Fayetteville, that's just a dangerous line of storms. In fact, there's some rotation up here north of our area. What we're seeing here, this is just up on the northern, very far north part of Lincoln County. I'll switch over to radar. Storm relative velocity. Shear rate's going to be pretty high here. So again, this is where we're seeing probably damaging straight line wind now. The lightning's down a little bit with that storm west of Fayetteville. And by far the most intense storm is east of Lewisburg. This is going to clip far northern Lincoln County. It's damaging straight line winds, so this is it's in Petersburg right now. So Petersburg, you're probably seeing damaging winds. Let me check Nashville again. Man, they got a mess up there in Lawrenceburg. Got a tree. Yeah, they got lots of trees down in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. Back to Huntsville office. So we're probably seeing trees down in Petersburg. And this is going down Bledsoe Road. And again, this is far northern Lincoln County, up in southern middle Tennessee. And this is on the way. Let me track this here. Oh, this area here is just nasty. And I need to adjust that just a little bit more too. So again, this is the highest wind. Tullahoma 405, Estill Springs 412, Shelbyville before that at 348. Winchester 415, Deckard 416, Swanee 427. And this is going to be moving into Smith Lake on the west side of Smith Lake very soon. And this is also moving into Lynchburg in about 25 minutes. Dangerous storm here. Very high wind. The wind's down a little bit on the west side of Fayetteville. You're probably still going to see some isolated damaging wind. monitoring the rotation south of Petersburg for possible tornado warning. Again, that's this area right up here. But again, I think that's probably more of a bow signature for a bow echo. Yeah, the shear rate kind of jumps out there. Nothing showing up on the debris tracker. But that's definitely a bow echo, that signature there. Let's just hit the latest update. All right, tornado warning coming out. We need to get on the air. We got tornado warning coming out. Lincoln County. I'll be at the wall. It's going to be north of Fayetteville. Oh, the hand tracker's not working, is it? I'm good. Yeah, hand tracker's not working, so I may do more over here. We'll see. Okay, that's fine. Let's just go. Yep. Let's go. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. We have a tornado warning now for northern Lincoln County. National Weather Service just issued this. We've been watching this circulation for a little bit, and it continues to be just on the north side of Fayetteville, and it's moving east towards Timms Ford Lake. So we've been doing the streaming on our broadcast, on our social media page, and our YouTube channel. Been telling everyone to get off the lake over here, Timms Ford Lake. This storm has a history of damaging winds, so no doubt we probably have 70, maybe 80 mile per hour winds going on within this storm on the north side of Fayetteville. There's been some weakening on the west side of Fayetteville, though, with this storm as it's moving in with winds still packing a punch at about 50, maybe 60 miles per hour. Very intense lightning up here towards Shelbyville, so we will be monitoring that as well. But right now, the worst of this weather just to the north of Fayetteville. I'm going to kind of step off the screen and go over here and take a look at other things going on. I'm going to give you a storm track over here as well. But once again, tornado warning for this storm in southern Middle Tennessee, and it's moving to the east at about 35 miles per hour. As we come in here and show you the velocity, it's not a tight area of rotation. I think we're dealing more with straight line wind here, but again, I think precautionary, issuing the tornado warning for a possible spin up here. It's, again, north of Fayetteville. Your sirens are probably sounding in Fayetteville, but we are about six and a half miles north of downtown Fayetteville with this particular storm as it's tracking to the east. Tullahoma, you're in danger of this high wind coming through. The previous storm that's moving into Fayetteville, it's weakened a little bit, but it was responsible for a lot of trees down in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. And again, it's showing some signs of weakening. And the storm just to the north of Fayetteville, again, this is the one could produce a possible tornado. It would be a spin-up tornado, but the big concern here is all this wind within this storm, and it's moving to the east at about 43 miles per hour, maybe just a little bit more than that. So with that track, that continues to take it to the east towards Estill Springs, near Tullahoma, Winchester, and Lynchburg. You are also threatened with this storm up there towards the Jack Daniels Distillery. Some of you may be up there today with it being Memorial Day weekend, so we continue to monitor that for you as well. Okay, let me reconnect here, the storm hand tracking. Maybe that was what was wrong with it. So I'll get back up here to the key wall. Again, tornado warning. It's not going to last long. The danger is north of Fayetteville. We continue to watch this area The highest wind is going to be in this blue area. This is where we're likely getting 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts moving into Shelbyville. And again, this is moving towards Tullahoma, which is out of our viewing area, but just want to give you that heads up. This is going to be out of our actual viewing area here in about 5 to 10 minutes. So again, we will not be preempting your show for much longer. Once this gets out of Lincoln County, we'll go back to our digital coverage of this storm. But a dangerous storm nonetheless. Again, this is well north of Fayetteville by about 7-8 miles now from downtown Fayetteville. I'm going to switch you back over to the actual radar. And what's happening is we've got another area of thunderstorms developing ahead of this. And I think that's going to help slow down some of the damaging wind threat, because you still get kind of a wind that goes to the west into this line that's coming in from the west. So hopefully that will kind of weaken this before it makes its way to Thames Ford Lake. But again, Tullahoma, need to be in your shelter if you can get our broadcast up there. Also up here in Lynchburg. And as we go out towards Lynchburg, again, that storm is just to the west of Lynchburg. Let's take a look at the shear rate. You can see how it's kind of this entire area showing that sign of that red in there. And that's where we have the highest winds, right along that line. And again, as we see here from Fayetteville, this is now northeast of Fayetteville, moving east at about 40 to 50 miles per hour. Mulberry, you do need to be in your shelter here as this comes through. Again, we could see a brief spin-up tornado, and that's what the warning's for. It's not for a long-track violent tornado. It's for a brief spin-up, like a EF0, EF1 type tornado within this line that could spin up. Again, moving towards Lynchburg here in the next few minutes. I'm going to go down the line here down into North Alabama. A lot of you probably watching and wondering what's going on. We got this big shelf cloud, big dark cloud all along this main line of showers and storms. But I want to reassure you here, this area up here in Tennessee is the worst of it. We've got some strong gusty winds coming out. They just reissued a severe thunderstorm warning, and it does include parts of Madison County. So your weather radio may have gone off for a severe thunderstorm warning in Madison County, but it's far northern Madison County as you get across the state line. And that's because this area of wind energy is slowly tracking a bit more to the east and southeast. So Stevenson and High Top, and you get on the northern side here of Lake Gunnersville, the Tennessee River, up towards Bridgeport. A lot of boaters out there, again, on Lake Gunnersville today, monitoring that for you as well. But overall, a lot of rain and high wind coming in with this, but there is that secondary line developing ahead of it, so that will likely help us out a bit. As we get over here towards Harvest and Monrovia, the sky is getting really dark here. You're probably going to get some wind gusts around 30, maybe 40 miles per hour as this comes in, and then continuing to move off to the east-southeast. So Athens, just heavy rain. There's not a lot of lightning with this. Lightning picking up just a little bit over here in Coxsey. Wheeler Lake, probably a good idea to get off of the lake just because we may get some 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts with this as it comes in. And, of course, lightning, the ever-present danger there. And as you get west of Florence out here on Wilson Lake, it looks a lot better. So you're going to get a big break in Florence. Let's take a look out west here. There are new thunderstorms developing just off to your west, but those may stay south of you as these storms continue to kind of move east. Now, this one looks kind of ominous here with that echo on the back here. Let me take a look at the velocity again. We're over here in Mississippi, but something to keep an eye on. And these features, what we're starting to see in some of these isolated thunderstorms. That one is moving off to the east. It may impact areas in and around Red Bay. So let me get a quicker view over here as we watch this thunderstorm out to the west. I'm going to put a storm track on this. I'll get back up to that Lincoln County storm in just a little bit. But as we take a look at this storm here, just a heads up in Red Bay, if this continues to develop and move towards the east a bit, 421, Vina 434, and the Rockwood area just before 5 o'clock. So severe thunderstorm watch is out until 11 o'clock tonight. You may have got that on our 48 First Alert weather app or your weather radio. I don't think that threat's going to last all that long. I think our threat's really going to start to wind down by 8 o'clock tonight. Switching back to the high top radar and going to give you another update up here in Lincoln County. Again, tornado warning in Lincoln County up into northern Franklin County and Moore County, Tennessee, for the possibility of a spin-up tornado. And this would be brief. The wind kind of picking up here all along this line. You notice it's now kind of dropped here just to the northeast of Fayetteville, moving into Lynchburg now. and that will continue to track off to the east and a bit to the southeast. I don't see any signs we've had a tornado, even a spin-up tornado. It just doesn't look that way on the radar. Nothing showing up on the debris tracker. And again, the wind all along this line continues to intensify just a bit. Now east of Fayetteville, this is going to be moving towards Kelso as we're getting a little bit closer. I don't think we've got a tornado moving to Kelso, but we've got a lot of strong gusty winds. They're going to be right along the Elk River and up here towards Timms Ford Lake. Again, this is approaching Timms Ford Lake with very heavy rain and damaging straight line winds and a possible brief spin-up tornado within this line. I'm going to read over here from the Weather Service, see if they got any other reports here. A couple of suspicious circulations across Lincoln County, one near Petersburg, the other northeast of Petersburg. Again, Petersburg is in far northern Lincoln County, pretty much right, it's now east of Petersburg. So I'll get into Petersburg. There's Petersburg. The threat's over in Petersburg. You can get out of your shelter if you've been monitoring our broadcast there. And it's now east of there. This is all far northeastern rural Lincoln County off a Duck Branch Road and moving into Lynchburg. So the wind's really picking up in Lynchburg here in the next few minutes. As we go back to the storm relative velocity, you kind of see that's where we have this, if we're going to have a spin up, and I want to stress spin up brief tornado, it would be here moving into Lynchburg or anywhere along that line, as that's where the most intense wind is. And we've got a little bit of this area right in here, just north of Lynchburg, which would indicate some fairly broad rotation. And again, that means it's far apart, not really a tight circulation there, but nonetheless, they'll continue that warning up here. So we'll stay on for about 5 more minutes until this moves out of Lincoln County, because it's got about 5 more minutes in northern Lincoln County, but very intense wind. The highest tornado threat right now is in Moore County up in Lynchburg, Tennessee. And this entire area of wind will likely do tree damage here on the lake. Timms Ford Lake right here. So again, if you know someone at Timms Ford Lake, you need to be texting them now, tell them to get off. They've got to get off the water, because we're definitely looking at a widespread 50 to 60 mile per hour wind here in a large area. In fact, this extends about 5 miles or so. I mean, at least the area that's moving into Timms Ford Lake. So this is going to impact most of Timms Ford Lake. So we got an 11-mile area here of strong, damaging potential straight line winds coming into on the west side now of Timms Ford Lake. A lot of people on the lake here. Lightning's picking up with this storm too. So this is likely going to do some damage there on Timms Ford Lake. So we're talking damage to boat docks, trees down, people camping up here. So again, we're keeping an eye on this for you. A possibility that there may be a tornado within this line, but overall, it just continues to show me it's straight line wind as this storm continues to bow out and basically plow towards Timms Ford Lake. So let me get in here closer. Up in Timms Ford Lake, we've got Galloway Lane, Bull Run Lane, Winchester Highway, kind of coming in on the west side out towards the dam. I'm going to actually turn the radar off, and we're just going to talk about areas of Timms Ford Lake. Again, a beautiful lake. This is all on the west side. As this approaches, I think this is the golf course here, yeah. So this is going to be approaching near the dam and out by the golf course as this moves through. So again, as we get our bearings there, just some light rain there, but you get west of there, and that's where the damaging wind is. So let me put the wind on here again. And the worst of the wind is going to be on the north side of the lake, but it's moving through Lynchburg right now. And it continues to show signs that it could produce a brief spin-up tornado. But again, the tornado warning is going to get your attention. However, the high wind impact is probably bigger than that of the actual tornado, because it's so extensive here. We've had numerous reports of damaging wind along that line, and it continues to move east, and it's still very aggressive here on the radar imagery with a large area of 60, maybe 70 mile per hour winds moving east. Okay, they're going to be new circulation developing west-southwest of Lynchburg. They're drawing up a new tornado warning near Kelso. So again, that's going to be down here. And Kelso's right along the Elk River. So let me turn the lightning off. So there's our new tornado warning coming out. Again, I don't see it as, it's going to be north. It's really this area near Mulberry. And I really want to stress a lot of this is just straight line wind. I don't think we have a significant tornado here. I think we've got a lot of wind. That's really the big impact here. And that new tornado warning extends down. It looks like they've included Jackson County in that. So we're going to be on the air a little bit longer now. Again, tornado warning, northern Jackson County. But again, this circulation is way, way, way north of us. I don't think this tornadic circulation is going to make it into northern Jackson County. And again, this is mainly straight line winds here. I really want to stress that. But damaging straight line winds. See, that's the problem. The takeaway from this is we have this tornado warning, but I think the biggest impacts from the straight line winds. So we're talking 60, 70 mile per hour, widespread area of destructive wind here in eastern Lincoln County. Fayetteville, you are all clear from this storm. It is now east of you. As you get east of the industrial park here on the east side of Fayetteville. Zoom back out here. I think this is just going to continue to be our problem area, so to speak, as we go through the next hour. Moulton, a thunderstorm kind of popping up right on top of you now. Again, I'm going to cover other areas as well, just because we've kind of honed in on what's really going on with this storm. This is mainly straight line wind up here with perhaps a brief spin up tornado, but it's significant wind, especially moving towards Thames Ford Lake. Elsewhere, we've got that dark cloud now approaching Harvest and Athens, and you get down here towards Moulton. Very heavy rain with that particular thunderstorm. But that's going to be it here in Anderson and Florence for a while, and we'll continue to monitor the thunderstorm out here west of Red Bay for additional development. But there's no severe thunderstorm warning associated with that. And really, if you kind of draw a line, I think what's happening is we've got this. There's a boundary from these thunderstorms that extends down here to the south, and that's why we're getting some of this development. And these storms out here to the west are going to be developing and tracking to the east and maybe a bit northeast, but that's kind of sliding southeast right now. So our biggest concern is up here near Winchester, and you get east and northeast of Kelso. Huntland, I would be seeking shelter for this. And again, we've got a lot of wind with this too. A lot of people ask about, should I get out of my mobile home? The biggest challenge for mobile homes are storms like this where there's a great unknown, but you're looking at the potential for trees to fall on your mobile home. That's the greatest threat here. Once you get winds at 80 miles per hour, that's when many mobile homes can become airborne. The wind blows the skirts off the bottom of the mobile home, and then it acts like an airplane wing and can become airborne. Again, that's basically through research at 80 miles per hour. So let's get back in here and take a look at the velocity again. Again, we're going to have to switch radars here. I'll go to high top. So a classic line of storms moving in that has straight line wind damage. Again, I don't see there's no strong rotation here, that's for sure. There's not a strong tornadic signature at all. This is basically a bow echo moving in. And what I mean by a bow echo, I'll draw this out for you. You get this thunderstorm that's bowing out. So all the wind is basically forced in this area here, and it bows it out. So the radar signature is bowed in nature, and that's what's moving into Thames Ford Lake and Tullahoma and eventually Estill Springs. And on occasion, you can get a brief EF0 tornado with these, maybe winds at 80 miles an hour. Again, we're talking really small here. This is not long track. This is nothing like what we had last week. Again, this is well east of Kelso now as we get in here a little bit closer. Yeah, see Kelso right over here. You guys can get out of your shelter. This storm is over for Kelso, at least the wind threat here. And it's kind of tracking to the north of you. Again, right towards Thames Ford Lake. So I would hope eventually they'd cancel this tornado warning into northern Jackson County just because the threat's clearly to the north on this storm. And we're going to get closer to the high top radar, so we're going to get a little bit better data. But again, the only real circulation concern I have is just southwest of Tullahoma within that storm. Yeah, the most interesting circulation, as they're saying, is on the Lincoln and Moore County line. I got power outage in Rogersville from this line. Again, we're probably seeing some 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts. And some of the trees could be more vulnerable to such a wind gust like 40 mile an hour after last week's storm. So there's a lot of things we don't know. Some of these trees are in bad shape. You go from drought to deluge to drought. It really has an impact on some of the trees. So again, the worst circulation is right here southwest of Tullahoma. Right there. And that's just on the north side of Timms Ford Lake as you get north up there. But still, very high wind continues along this line just to the west of Winchester, moving to the east. Check the latest comment here. Yeah, again, they're bringing out the weather service. I'm monitoring the chat. They're bringing up the important point of you need to be sheltering from these storms regardless of the tornado warning, just because of the wind. We're going to have trees on homes up here as this moves. It's in Moore County now, and it's just about all the way into Franklin County. Very hilly terrain up here too. If it, doesn't take far to take a little day trip up to Tennessee, and you just notice how the terrain changes right across the state line, and especially up here on Timms Ford Lake. So a possible tornado would be southwest of Tullahoma. As I get in here, this is going to be on Turkey Creek Run. Again, this is just out of our viewing area, but again, extending that for those maybe watching on digital. Very high wind in Lynchburg. The tornado threat's now east of Lynchburg, but there's still some very strong wind gusts in here that continue to move to the east, just west of Winchester. Huntland, the winds are going to pick up probably 45, maybe 50 miles per hour. I don't see a tornado threat moving into Huntland. You're under that second warning, but this is mainly high wind, and I don't see any rotation at all with that second storm. It's mainly, if there would be any spin-up tornado threat, it's in southern Moore County. Basically, I can draw Moore County in here for you. This is going to be Moore County right here as you kind of draw that up. And then you get Franklin County right here. And this is moving into Timms Ford Lake now. So we've been giving you, what time is it now? It is 4:02. And it looks like it's moving faster. I think it's moving closer to 50 miles per hour as it moves to the east. So again, possible tornado could be embedded within this line, but it's most likely damaging straight line winds, which could reach 70 miles per hour, moving over Timms Ford Lake right now as we speak. I know I'm going to stay on here as this moves into Timms Ford Lake because a lot of you are probably up here for Memorial Day. You may have got a vacation rental by owner, or you may be in your own lake house up here. You need to stay away from your windows, get into an interior room. As the winds come in, again, trees will likely get knocked down. Power will likely go out with this storm. And the maximum tornado threat would be just southwest of Tullahoma. Again, that's north of the lake, but we're looking at widespread wind coming into Timms Ford Lake. Let's expand our view down here to the south. You can clearly see a distinct difference here within the line. And the line itself, we've got this very sharp drop off here, and there's the wind. Very weak, but could see some 40-mile-an-hour gusts with this as it moves into Athens and up to Hazel Green. But by far, highest wind over Timms Ford Lake now. Tornado warning remains in effect till 4:30 for Moore County, east central Lincoln County, and northern Franklin counties. Tornado warning remains in effect till 4:45 for north central Jackson County, southeastern Moore County, and southeastern Lincoln County. So again, this 45 minutes more on this tornado warning for northern Jackson County. But I don't see a tornado in this storm moving into Jackson County. I really want to stress that. This is all straight line wind coming in. Significant straight line wind. Starting to see another little pixel here show up. This is going to be north of Huntland. Notice how we get this little pixel of darker blue there. So again, these are going to be strong, gusty winds coming in. And kind of a mess up here on the radar. There's a lot of activity out ahead of the main line. Let's take a look at the shear rate again. This is really a good tool. But what you see here is a lot of wind. So these areas in red, you know, it's typically our rotation detector, but I think in this case it's high wind detector. And we've got high wind coming into Huntland, probably 60 miles per hour. You get farther north and it's probably closer to 70 miles per hour. And you get this break up here from Tullahoma just to the west of Estill Springs. So there's our line. Let me go ahead and give you an extended storm track. It does look like the line's getting stronger, roughly from Newmarket up into southern Middle Tennessee. So let's track this. I'm going to track this at about 50 miles per hour as we go east-southeast. Actually, put about, so again, this will be Stevenson, Bridgeport, high winds. It's in the Newmarket area, just north of Newmarket right now. Again, you're under that severe thunderstorm warning. We've got high wind potential that's increasing. And again, it's going to get into more hilly terrain as you go from northeastern Madison County into northern Jackson County. So our highest threat here is straight line winds in northern Jackson County, even though the tornado warning has been issued. So we've got high top at 422, Stevenson about 440, Bridgeport 445, South Pittsburgh, and again, that's far northeast Alabama. That's around 450 or so, and then Trenton and Morganville around 5 o'clock. So severe thunderstorms moving towards Bridgeport. This is going to end up just north of Scottsboro. However, this other line's coming in. Okay, yeah, again, they're trimming back that warning just a little bit as the threat moves to the east. So again, Fayetteville, again, you're all clear on this. Rain's picking up as you get west of Decatur, Point Mallard. Let's take a look at that area. A lot of people out here at Point Mallard today. They had the balloons up earlier this morning. That was a nice sight after all the rain yesterday. I'm going to turn the lightning on here. Lightning's going to pick up. This is going to be north of Decatur. Let me go ahead and take a look at the camera views here. I think we can get over to Decatur in this viewpoint. So again, the lightning's picking up in Decatur. This is actually Guntersville, but again, not as many boats out in Guntersville. You're still looking at probably another hour before this threatens Guntersville. Athens, probably a dark sky there. Yeah, it's just heavy rain. Look at the parkway. You can see the dark sky up here. Again, this is on the north side of town. This is where that severe thunderstorm warning is in effect. Winds are out of the south at about 11. I can go to the Space and Rocket Center here too and take a look at that view. So you're looking off, just off to the north. Fairly high base to these thunderstorms too, and that typically limits severe weather the higher the cloud is above the ground. So it's something to watch. I'm going to go ahead and send this back home here. I think that's how I can get out of that. Or just click the exit, I think. So again, severe thunderstorms developing and moving east. This storm is getting stronger though. That's here on the north side of Decatur, just to the southwest of Athens. I'll go ahead and get in closer here. You get west of Tanner, north of Trinity. This is moving east-southeast, so again, probably want to get off the lake here, Wheeler Lake. And again, some of you get in over here on the north side of Decatur. You go down here to Point Mallard. I myself have been in that situation where you're trying to beat the storm as you get back into port, so to speak. And sometimes people just ride it out. But again, you're going to want to get off the water. I would get off the water now. It may take you a good 10 minutes to get over here near the hard dock, the Riverwalk Marina. And that's moving east towards Tanner and eventually could continue to develop through Decatur. So very heavy rain there. Nothing severe right now from Meridianville over to Harvest. This is just heavy rain. Let me take a look at the velocity again, see what's happening again. You got to take breaks every now and then from looking at the velocity so you can go back and see things that you may not have seen if you're just staring at it the whole time. Starting to see higher wind down here in northern Jackson County. Huntland, the worst of the wind is probably now just on the east side of town there in Huntland. And there is that, again, we see this little peak here. This is south of Winchester in Belvedere, where you could get a brief spin-up tornado along Pope Lane and then Buncombe Road. And it's moving towards Row Gap Road up here. This is Belvedere. Again, you should be in your shelter here in Belvedere. You've been under a tornado warning for several minutes now, and the southwest side of Winchester. Go back to radar, take another look here. Okay, they're looking at clearing the tornado warnings from Lincoln and Moore counties. So tornado warning canceled for southeastern Moore and southeastern Lincoln counties. Tornado warning remains in effect for north central Jackson and Franklin counties. So again, they're clearing those tornado warnings just off to the north, the far northern ones. They continue this tornado warning. Again, they trimmed this back. They've continued this. Again, if you're in Skyline, you're in Stevenson, this tornado threat is to your north, and your sirens are probably sounding even down here in Scottsboro, Woodville, and Gurley. But it's clear the threat is well north, close to the state line, and the most intense lightning is coming from the storm that's just off to the west of Winchester. And that's where a lot of the highest wind is. So as we continue on here, here's our circulation just to the, it's right over Highway 64, and this is probably about 5 miles or so northeast of Huntland. So let's put that on there. Yeah, right at about 6.5 miles northeast of Huntland. So almost halfway between Winchester and Huntland, Tennessee, is where we have this brief circulation possibility. Most of this is, again, high wind, lots of lightning, and that continues to move east and just a bit southeast. Let's get down here in the northern part of Jackson County. What we've got going on. Again, this is strong wind, probably 45 miles per hour, just south of Huntland. As you get in to the northern part of Jackson County, far northern Jackson County, storm relative velocity not showing much. Again, this is a classic high wind event up here. And the shear rate, it's going to be strong across this. Again, this isn't necessarily just looking at a tornado spin here. This is focused on high wind damage potential. And this is a classic signature of high wind coming in. And the radar just down the road here. So we got a real good view here of this storm as it comes in. Tornado warning for Moore and eastern Lincoln County is canceled. Tornado warning remains in effect again for Franklin County until 4:30. Again, there's 2 tornado warnings up here. So again, we continue with this tornado warning, but right now it's mainly straight line wind. And as I focused on earlier, just because it may not be a tornado, high winds can produce tornado-like damage, especially with this particular storm here. Where we have the most intense lightning is still just off to the north from Winchester to the west. And it's kind of disconnected now from the main wind. So the wind's really starting to come out. So this may be what we call outflow dominated, which would likely just be high wind and less of a tornado threat. Just southwest of Winchester is where we have our area that may have a brief spin up with it. That's 6.5 miles southwest of Winchester, also 6.5 miles to the northeast of Huntland. This is moving towards Cowan, Tennessee, and on its present track continues to move into Franklin County. The southern edge of this, the wind picking up a little bit, but I still don't see a tornado threat here in Jackson County. There is some really high wind though. That latest area here just kind of piqued my interest here. Again, this is north of Estill Fork, and this is actually south, right along the edge of the southern part of the polygon. You get up here, that's 5 miles or so north of Estill Fork. This is moving towards Jericho, so if you're in Jericho, you want to get away from your windows. The wind's going to be picking up with this line of storms as it comes in from the west. So everything tracking pretty much east-southeast. I would expect some intensification here all along this line as it moves towards High Top. Again, you're not under the tornado warning there in High Top, but this entire area is showing an intensification here on the southern edge. Let me get a sip of water here real quick. So once again, tornado warning for extreme, like the northern 2 miles of Jackson County, and it cuts off right on the west side of Bridgeport. No additional reports. We haven't had any reports of any damage. However, those are going to be delayed for a couple of reasons. One, some of these people impacted may be on vacation today, maybe out of town. Two, it's a fairly rural area, and it takes time to get some of these reports out of these areas. Lightning's really picking up here in and around Winchester. So that's really the biggest threat right now is wind and lightning in Winchester, Tennessee and Thames Ford Lake. This is going to continue to move through. It'll be over in about 30 minutes. So you got another 30 minutes there on Thames Ford Lake. So we're talking before 5 o'clock, it should be all clear in these areas. And I don't see anything else coming back in, at least immediately. But the line's looking a little bit more ragged. Notice how it's kind of spreading out a little bit. So I think, again, outflow dominated is the best word here to describe kind of what's going on here. And there's a distinct change here, big change in the radar imagery. But we still have high wind here, southeast of Huntland now, right on the state line here into Jackson County. But notice how we see a real big change here in the radar velocity signature. So there's some good news here. But we could still see a brief spin up from Estill Springs to Winchester. And of course, watching the southern edge of this line, shear rate's probably going to drop off a little bit as well. That really picked up here in southern Middle Tennessee. Right in that area there. We'll go in and see what's going on with that. I think it's just getting closer to the radar. Very strong winds here. And it's about ready to get into a lot of trees over here, mountainous areas. So we continue to monitor areas up into Franklin County, east of Huntland now. This is going to be about 5.5 miles from Huntland. We'll call it about 6 miles. And then again, strong winds all on the southern edge. Tornado warning remains in effect till 4:45 for north central Jackson and southeastern Franklin counties. Again, that's the latest update from the National Weather Service office. So that's roughly 30 more minutes now on this tornado warning. In addition to that, we still have that severe thunderstorm warning out for this storm. I just want to stress, I don't see any big tornado risk here. It's high wind with a locally embedded real small tornado threat here as this moves through. And we're really close to the radar. If there was a strong tornado here, we would definitely see it on radar. We're seeing strong wind. So what's happening is this wind is basically going from left to right. And this wind is roughly moving up along the leading edge. So these winds are probably more from the southwest along this line. So again, there's no tight rotation, but every now and then you get something like this that'll pop up. Let's loop that. It doesn't look well connected to that. Again, this is what you would look for along these lines. Storm relative velocity. Again, there's just nothing co-located on the velocity that would indicate. But again, you get closer to the radar and you get into the cone of silence, so to speak. What happens is if you get too close to the radar is actually looking above the storm and doesn't see the low-level features. So that's another thing going on here. So while the velocity doesn't quite show much, we do have this little appendage here that does show up. We'll have to watch that. Again, that's this area here. I'll circle that. We'll see how this develops over time. But moving towards Jericho, again, you need to be in a safe place there in Jericho. So that's an area we'll watch. Again, it's so close to the radar site. It's possible the radar beam is definitely looking over any low-level circulation. So again, it's hitting it as we get too close to the radar. All along this line, we've got strong gusty winds. Take a look at the lightning out here. Lightning's kind of remains steady there on the southwest side of Athens. And one thing that I'm hoping is going to happen is this main line here that comes through is going to take some of the punch out of the atmosphere for another line that may come in later this evening. We'll have to watch that. So as I expand the view back, and we'll go back out to the Mississippi radar. Again, Jericho, you should be staying in your shelter there, your safe place. I think this is more of a hallway storm is what I would call it. We're looking at mainly just trees knocked down. And again, that can be a big threat, especially if you're in a mobile home. But as we look out west, this entire boundary is kind of lighting up. The storms are tracking east-southeast. There's a new line that's advancing. There's a severe thunderstorm watch that goes all the way out into Arkansas. We don't get a good view of this from the Mississippi radar. If we had the Memphis radar in here, you'd see a lot more red on that. But overall, it's kind of a messy storm setup, I will tell you that. So what we're hoping is going to happen is as that next line kind of comes in from the west, we will see a weakening as this rain-cooled air probably keeps anything new from developing. As we get closer to sunset, again, if we still have this rain-cooled air and we don't see the sun back out, I think that'll be some good news. But let's go back here into northern Jackson County. Take a look at the high top radar, which is right next door here. We continue to see kind of that little appendage, we'll call it, north of high top. But really, mainly looks like strong gusty winds coming through here. A lot of lightning up here, east of Huntland through Winchester up to Thames Ford Lake. And that continues to really track east, so very intense thunderstorm. A lot of wind here through Cowan and just off to the south and east. I'm going to update here. Severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect till 4:45 for northwestern Jackson County, northeast Madison, eastern Moore, southeast Lincoln, and Franklin County. So again, we're going to see this tornado warning at 4:30 drop off, probably in southern Middle Tennessee in about 10 minutes up here into Franklin County, unless they decide to reissue down the road here. And then that becomes more of a threat up here into the Chattanooga viewing area. Again, we're really right on the edge here with this tornado warned storm for northern Jackson County. It's just amazing how the lightning just completely drops off here into Madison County and western Jackson County. And that just tells me the main energy here is just to the north of the state line with this storm. A lot of lightning. And the storm is pretty much moving right over the radar site now. You can kind of see we've got this couplet here. Let's see how this co-locates with the radar. Yeah, this is definitely something to watch that we haven't really seen yet. But this circulation here south of Cowan, this would indicate a possible spin-up tornado. Again, that's kind of what we've been looking for since we broke into programming, is something similar to that would indicate that potential there. There's actually two of them. So yeah, we've got, again, a possible tornado just on the south side of Cowan, Tennessee with that signature, and then there may be another one. Again, these would be weak EF0 type tornadoes up towards Swanee. So again, you need to stay in your shelter there in Cowan and in Swanee. Let's see where the lightning is. Heavy rain here at the station right now too. So these are the areas that we watch for. And so far, there's not much of that showing up in Jackson County. Again, high wind. We're probably looking at 60 mile per hour winds here right on the state line in Jackson County. And boy, there's just a tremendous amount of lightning with this storm up here just to the north of you. And that's right over Thames Ford Lake. So that lightning is jumping out. And the lightning is picking up a little bit now, just south into North Alabama. But there's not much lightning at all here as you get from, say, Maysville to Huntsville, up to Meridianville, occasional lightning from Harvest down south towards Capshaw. Harvest looks like your rain's probably going to end here soon. Let's put that into motion. Yeah, this is all tracking east-southeast. It's like they put a new severe thunderstorm warning now. Scottsboro, Huntsville now under a severe thunderstorm warning. I just don't see any severe wind here with that at all, though. Unless this intensifies in the next 15 minutes, I don't see any severe wind gusts here with this at all. It's just not showing up, and it would. So again, severe thunderstorm warning. Your weather radio may have just gone off in Huntsville. This includes areas as you get off to the south and east. Probably going to get people off the golf course here at Hampton Cove, and all area golf courses have probably been busy today, of course. This is going to be north. This is moving towards Lake Gunnersville, by the way. Let me put out a storm track on this line here. Here's this new severe thunderstorm warning into Huntsville, moving southeast. I'm going to put the speed here closer to 50 miles per hour because I think that's what we're starting to get. So Here's a heads up for you. I'm going to stop the loop. We're looking at the Grissom High School area around 4:27, so about 6 minutes or so from now with this heavier rain. Gurley 4:30, Pleasant Groves 4:34, Woodville around 4:40, and then Aspel around 4:46. Scottsboro 4:47, so that's going to be the Goose Pond Colony area there on the northern half of Lake Guntersville. Again, that is just before 5 o'clock. So if you're on your boat watching, you need to get back into port in about an hour. Pisgah 4:52, Rosalie 4:53, and make that about 40 minutes or so on that getting back to port. Rosalie 4:53, Eider 4:55, Dutton 4:57, Section 4:57, and Betty Crossroads around 5 o'clock. Again, this is all moving into Jackson County. Had a lot of questions earlier on Facebook saying, are we going to see Sand Mountain Magic? Probably not with this as it moves in, but we'll have to watch that. They've now extended the tornado warning, new tornado warning out in northern Jackson County. This does include Stevenson, Bridgeport, and areas just north of Eider and Skyline. It's right over the high top radar, so it's going to be really difficult to get a good view of what's going on. So we'll continue to watch that. And notice this area up here, south of Swanee, continues to intensify. So I think this is our best indication of a possible tornado we've had all day up here just off to the north, south of Swanee. Again, this is up in Franklin County, Tennessee. Don't see any debris signature yet with that, but the velocity definitely backs it up that there's a possible tornado here on that leading edge. That would be, again, tornado signature there south of Swanee. The other thing we may see a little bit of a spin here. Again, this is just north of the state line. We're going to get better data once this storm moves east of High Top, unless it takes the power out like it did last week there at High Top. So hopefully that radar stays on. Two circulations in eastern Franklin County. Again, they have new tornado warning coming out for Jackson, and again, that goes into DeKalb County. Another sip of water. So again, it's the storm that's right over High Top that they issued this tornado warning for. Again, we're in the cone of silence. We can't see much because it's right on top of the radar, but once it gets east of the radar, we should get back to our better data coming in from that. Let's kind of see how it passes through the radar site. Shear rate's probably still fairly high. It's kind of maxing out there as it's moving over the radar site right now. Again, probably in about 5 minutes, we're going to get a better view of this as it moves east of High Top. But if you're in High Top, you need to be seeking shelter. There's that strong wind. A pretty good ground truth here of some really strong wind coming in on the southern edge of the storm. The lightning's really picking up right over the radar site too. So that's another, we co-locate the significant lightning with the strong updraft, and that would indicate that tornado potential. It's really right over the radar. As we move out, I'm going to go ahead and put a new storm track on this. Again, we're going to track this possible tornado, again, a spin-up tornado and damaging straight line winds all along this area. Now, east of High Top, right over High Top, I should say, moving east-southeast. We're going to put that at about at least 42 miles an hour. It's probably a little bit, I'm going to redo that track here for you. Take it out about closer to 50 miles per hour. So the storm is intensifying right over Jackson County, and it's moving east-southeast. We're going to go 52 miles an hour. So we're talking South Bridgeport, Stevenson area, 440. It's now 428. The Bridgeport area, 446. Shiloh, 456. Morganville, Trenton, around 5 o'clock. And then we're getting into North Georgia by 5:11, and the Chickamauga area there too. This is going to clip far northern parts of DeKalb County. So we get down in here a little bit closer. So we got Shiloh, that was on that track. And we're looking at Eider just to the north of there. Definitely coming through Stevenson. It's going to climb up the bluff out towards the Bellefonte, the old Bellefonte power plant, and continue to move off to the east-southeast. But we're getting east of the radar location now. Very high wind. Let's see what it's probably close to 60 at least. So we got 57. Yeah, so we're right at the radar site. We very likely have 50 to 60 mile per hour winds now east of High Top as this continues to move towards Stevenson. So you can stay away from your windows. I do think this is more of that kind of that hallway storm flavor to it, so to speak. A lot of lightning with this and very heavy rain. So let's take a look at the radar view. Again, I stress possible tornado with this. It would be a spin up, it would be brief, it would be like maybe a football field wide on the ground for a minute or two. So again, that's what we're looking at when you get these tornado warnings. And this will likely be the last one we see this afternoon within this line of storms. Again, it's right over the radar, which makes it a real tough call for the Weather Service as well. Updating you on the line of storms here to the west, I don't see any severe wind gusts at all with this storm in Huntsville or Gurley. But yet we've got a severe thunderstorm warning. The highest wind is by far just down to the east of High Top. There is absolutely, you've got maybe 45 mile per hour winds coming into Huntsville. I haven't heard any wind here on the roof at the station, and believe me, when we get severe wind gusts, we can hear it from the studio. So I don't see that being the case. As you get farther west, again, some of the radar is going to, even though it's an S-band radar, you get some attenuation here, especially through this heavy rain. So probably a little bit more red. In fact, I'll just check the Columbus Air Force Base radar, and it'll probably be just a little bit brighter. And it is on the southwest side of Hartselle, but there's no threat for severe weather here in Hartselle or Decatur, and I honestly don't see much for Huntsville either. Again, we got the warning out, but there's nothing really supporting severe winds in the city of Huntsville right now. Let's see if we got any updates here. Tornado warning remains in effect till 5:15 for northeastern Jackson, northeastern DeKalb, and southeastern Franklin counties. And that's Franklin County, Tennessee. So mainly just rain here in Huntsville. Gusty winds, 30 mile an hour. Switch back over to the High Top radar. Strong gusty winds. Turn the lightning tracker back on. There's barely any lightning with this storm in Huntsville as well. Again, we just pretty much got a big bow echo here just to the east of High Top. Very intense lightning. And it looks like the worst of the weather's over there at Thames Ford Lake. You can probably get out of your shelter up there. Storm relative velocity. Yeah, that's where we have, again, possible spin up here just to the east of High Top. So again, we've got a better view now of the radar. I'm going to turn the lap off. I'm going to go to straight velocity. Yeah, that's pretty nasty here. At least 50, probably higher, 70 there. We got a pixel of 70. So let's get in here. So here's where we have the possibility of tornado maybe forming as you get to the east of High Top. And this is moving towards Bass. So in Bass, you need to be seeking shelter for a possible spin-up tornado developing within this storm. Storm relative velocity shows it pretty well. And the actual radar, yeah, so we've got a spin-up tornado that's now pretty good indication here that we've got a possible tornado that may be spinning up here. Back to the shear rate. Yeah, it's fairly high, but again, it may be a little contaminated, and just as quickly as it shows up, it just goes away. So again, that's what we mean by spin up. Let me put this into motion here real quick for you. Putting that area, that's going to continue to move east. Again, the original polygons are more to the southeast, but we've got this possible tornado moving more to the east, and I'll take it a bit southeast. In fact, I got to go ahead and back up here. Look at something real quick. I'm going to be canceling the northern tornado warning as it's moved out of the area, so I think that's up into Tennessee. So I'm going to continue with the tornado warning here in Jackson County, and it looks like the storm up in Tennessee is, yeah, that tornadic threat has moved east of Franklin County, and they've gone with the tornado warning now farther east into the Chattanooga area. So again, you got all these lakes here along the Tennessee River. Very busy day, very busy weekend for that. So as I take you back here, I'm going to do a storm track. I'm not going to do it just for that where that possible circulation is. I'm going to do it for this entire area of the thunderstorm, because since we're talking about spin-ups, and that's most likely what we're dealing with here, I'm going to take that about 45 miles an hour. Updated storm track, Stevenson 441. It is now 434. Bridgeport 449. Shiloh 5 o'clock. Trenton 505. Chickamauga, and again, that's going to be up here. You got Chickamauga Lake here involved too, about 522. And then Lafayette over here into, actually Chickamauga's down. There's a couple Chickamaugas up in this area here, but that's going to be in northern Georgia. So this should be crossing the state line. Let's see, Shiloh, 5 o'clock, right at 5 o'clock. So again, if our producer's monitoring, we're probably going to have a 5 o'clock newscast as this moves off, just off to the east, and should be out of the area right around 5 o'clock. So we'll continue to monitor that. But you should be, this is a hallway storm. This is one of those stay away from your windows. And the biggest threat to mobile homes is going to be trees falling. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that. Not seeing that circulation anymore. It was very brief. Seeing some pictures here now submitted in the National Weather Service chat. They continue that severe thunderstorm warning here, again in Madison County, all the way into DeKalb County. I just don't see that storm being severe. It's definitely not severe right now. Actually, I need to go get my glasses here real quick so I can read better. But again, we broke into programming for a tornado warning that included our viewing area up in Fayetteville. We have not had a report of a tornado yet, but let's see. So again, Lynchburg, got a big tree down. It's leaning on the power poles. So I'm going to see if we've got a debris signature here within this storm as well. So let's get up in here. And again, it may have been a spin up for what we were looking at earlier. Pause that. Take a look at the debris signature potential here. Again, you're going to see a lot of colors here. It looks like cotton candy. But again, it would have been, yeah, it's really hard to tell. There's a lot going on in that image. And if there was, it would have been very briefly east of High Top. So again, the storm looks like it may be trending down a little bit, but there's still a lot of wind here. There's still a lot of wind, a lot of lightning. And for the most part, it's confined here right on the state line. I'm going to kind of circle that area here. You can kind of see it with the lightning data though. It's this line right here. And occasionally, you know, I've seen a lot of these lines of storms that come through, and you start to get this different view as it moves east of the radar because you're looking at the opposite direction. So there's a lot of wind here. Again, it's forced to go up and down these valleys as you get into this terrain, which changes constantly with these storms as they move through. But we've got high wind coming into Bridgeport, high wind coming into Stevenson, and it looks like high wind developing just northwest of Hollywood, and that's southeast of Skyline. If you're in High Top, you can get out of your shelter. That storm's well east of you now. They should be trimming this tornado warning back as the storm moves farther east. We continue with a severe thunderstorm warning for Madison and Marshall, and I just don't see this being severe. Again, I don't think this storm is severe at all. It's got gusty winds, but there's no lightning, there's no velocity indicating that this is going to be a severe thunderstorm. The severe storm definitely here at Stevenson, just to the east now of Thames Ford Lake, but that's kind of it. I'm just kind of reset the view here and show you what we've got going on. We've got probably one boundary that's right in here, and that's where the thunderstorms are firing up. And we've got the storm now west of Red Bay that's tracking a little bit more to the southeast. It does have a severe thunderstorm warning on it right now. I'll go ahead and knock that tornado warning off the screen there real quick. It doesn't want to. There it is, it's gone. Let me check the board here real quick. Yeah, Weather Service talking about that correlation coefficient. Just, again, it's so messy over there, you can't really tell. I'm going to shift focus over here, go over here towards the storm to the west of Red Bay. Florence, you're all clear for a while. The sun might be coming back out there. But as we take a look at this storm here, this one is likely going to stay, yeah, it's tracking southeast. So let me storm track this here real quick. It's moving fairly slow. This one here is moving east-southeast. We're going to put that at about 43 miles per hour. It'll be close to Vina, the northern part of this, but I don't think that's going to be severe. Maybe the extreme southwest corner there of Franklin County, Alabama. Then down towards Hackleburg around 525, and then Haleyville probably somewhere around 540 or so. But again, that's that storm out west. And you can see this boundary continues to kind of produce more thunderstorms here, at least trying to in the Bankhead National Forest. Smith Lake, you're still all clear for a while. The nasty weather continues in the far northeast corner here of the state. So the most intense storm is definitely here in Jackson County and up into southern middle Tennessee. Lincoln County EMA in Tennessee, some power being restored, getting scattered reports of trees down on roads, mainly south of Highway 64. One report of a tree down between Mulberry and the Moore County line. So again, these tree reports are all where we had the highest winds going on with the storm moving up into Franklin County. So let's get back into Jackson County. Stevenson, you should be bracing for high wind, very intense lightning coming in. So we're likely going to see some trees down here, up to Bridgeport as well. Take a look at the velocity, and the wind has actually picked up near Stevenson. So the chance for damaging winds is going up from Stevenson, between there and Allison, in and around Fackler. Again, significant wind, probably 60 miles per hour as you get over here. And then this is going to be approaching the Tennessee River as you get south of Stevenson. Again, a lot of people out on the water today. I don't see a tornadic circulation there, but I do see significant wind, probably 60, maybe 70 miles an hour here on the radar, 64. So again, this is approaching County Road 45, likely going to see some power outages, trees down with this, County Road 45, and then eventually Highway 72. Highway 72 is going to be a rough go here from Bridgeport all the way to Hollywood here and into Scottsboro over the next 10 minutes or so, because the line continues to kind of expand a little bit on the southern edge here as the wind again continues, and it's about ready to climb the bluff here. So we're gonna know here pretty soon if that Sand Mountain Magic is going to be an impact today. The low-level circulation in the atmosphere, the storm relative helicity is not very high, so usually it has to be higher for that to happen, but we're going to know once this approaches. So let me give you another storm track here. Get that on the far left here of these storms coming in. So we've got just west of Bridgeport, Stevenson, north of Hollywood, and we're going to track this pretty much to the southeast. Actually, I need to redo that because I'm too close. So really want to get in. I'm going to do this storm track, and then we'll kind of go more street level. So this is about to cross Highway 72. It's north of Scottsboro, and then continue to move east-southeast. I'm going to increase the speed to about 52 miles an hour because a lot of times these storms will start to accelerate even more. So Rosalie, you're now in this storm track around 4:58. So about 5 o'clock, Rosalie, Eider, Trenton, Henniger. And we're looking at high winds. And what's going to happen is this climbs the bluff. It's going to force this high wind to change. It's going to go up in elevation about 400 feet or so. And that change will change the atmosphere out ahead of it. So we're going to watch to see how that interaction works. Henniger 503, Hammondville 513, and then Chickamauga over into Georgia, Mentone 515, Valley Head 515. And this is mainly for damaging straight line winds as the storm moves through, but that embedded tornado risk has been kind of within this line. I think we've had a tornado yet, at least nothing's confirmed that from radar. Tornado warning drop now for Franklin County, Tennessee. Severe thunderstorm warning though continues till 5:30 for northeastern Marshall, Jackson, southeast Madison County. Again, that's the storm I don't think is severe. I'll just tell you that right now. I just don't think that storm in Madison County is severe whatsoever. So we're focusing more on this storm up here to the north. Again, Stevenson, you need to be in your shelter there. Bridgeport, you need to be sheltered. Again, we're talking hallway storm here. Very high winds coming in. Probably going to get some tree branches down. A lot of leaves flown around off of the trees. And as we go back here into, again, there's nothing here that's severe in this storm at all. Woodville, Gurley, Grant, Gunnersville. Over time, it could get stronger, but it's not severe right now. The severe weather is clearly northeast of Scottsboro. It's where we have these brighter colors on the radar, near Bridgeport, Stevenson, and it's just mainly high wind with occasional bowing segment here. You get just west of Stevenson, there is this area that we'll watch. Anytime you get these changes within the line, it kind of has a different shape. We watch that closely. Again, velocity. Again, this is mainly high wind coming in, so this is a case where a lot of focus is on the tornado warning, but it's the wind, the straight line wind, that's going to do most of the damage here, because when you're looking at a possible and a stressed possible tornado, it's going to be very small circulation among all this high wind. So Hollywood, right along Highway 72 now, that's the most intense wind coming in, and that's going to continue to move to the east. I'm going to check a few other things. I'll be right back. So again, that moves to the east, very high wind with all of that, and then continues into Georgia. So this is probably only going to be moving through for another 45 minutes or so. So again, where we get the purple showing up, that's that intense wind. The wind's starting to spread out a little bit, so I think we're starting to see some of this interaction as that gust front is forced to rise in elevation as you get to the east here of the Tennessee River. So Fabius and Yucca, your winds are going to really increase as this climbs the bluff. So you need to be at least in your hallway here as this comes in. This is going to be just as you go along Highway 117, County Road 81, and we've got County Road 491 here, just to the east of the river. Probably see a very dark black cloud coming in all along this entire area, by the way, even into Huntsville. And as you go into Marshall County, you're seeing that. So again, there's going to be a very long shelf cloud all the way down the leading edge of this. New tornado warning coming for the Hollywood area. So again, that's what we were just looking at. So they're going to, it's down here. So again, this is south of that location. So we've got, again, a brief possible circulation north of Bellefonte and just to the east of Hollywood. So that's where the wind is picking up a bit. Again, this would be a spin up. Again, this is moving towards Pisgah. It's going to climb the bluff. So I mentioned earlier, we're going to know if Sand Mountain Magic is going to play a factor in here. We don't know for sure yet, but we definitely have a little bit of spin here. Again, this is going to be broad rotation, I will tell you that, as we take a look at it. This is mostly high wind, though. I see mostly high wind signature here, east of Hollywood. Shear rate, it's high all along this due to the nature. This is a linear area of wind coming in. The radar doesn't sample the towards and away very good, so it just kind of paints it, broad brushes this with high wind coming, and even on the west side of Scottsboro. Latest storm relative velocity here. Just a lot of wind again. So you need to take those tornado precautions, though, mainly because of the wind. There's a lot of wind here. These are 50, 60, maybe isolated 70-mile-an-hour winds that are getting ready to cross the river and are going to be close to Pisgah and Rosalie. So again, let's get Rosalie on here. It is about, again, you're going to see this storm coming. It's right now, this is about 8 miles from Rosalie. Should be moving in right around 5 o'clock. So again, 5 o'clock, we're expecting this towards Rosalie. and then south of Ider, Betty Crossroads, as this storm moves in from the west. So dangerous storm nonetheless, with a lot of wind and isolated areas that we may see a brief spin-up tornado with winds maybe 80 miles per hour. Again, that would be the tornado threat most likely here. So again, the tornado warning remains in effect till 5:15 for northeast Jackson and northeastern DeKalb counties. That was the previous tornado warning. This new one here is going to go, let's see. Okay, yeah, there it is. Let me see what the warning time is on that one. Better go back. So again, that one's probably going to go till about 4:45 or so. I mean 5, probably through 5:30. Let's see, this is out of Shelbyville. I've got trees down there. Again, that's expected. That's just out of our viewing area. So, tornado warning, central Jackson County in northeastern Alabama, northeastern DeKalb County until 5:30. So again, this will go through our entire newscast. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located over Hollywood or 8 miles northeast of Scottsboro, moving southeast at 40. I do think it's possible that it's moving a little bit faster than that. So Pisgah around 5:40, Henniger 4:55, and Ider 5 o'clock. Again, possible tornado, a lot of wind. So don't just focus on where this tornado circulation is, because this entire line has winds probably 50 to 60 miles per hour as it drops off to the east-southeast. Some of that wind moving into Bridgeport now. Again, we've had no reports of any damage. We've had no confirmation of any tornadoes so far today with this line of storms. But again, where you see this hot pink, that's where it's lighting up the most. That's where we have our wind threat here with embedded low-end tornado. Again, these will be really small tornadoes if we get any at all from this. There's not a lot of wind shear, low-level wind shear that you need for tornadoes. We just know occasionally you can get these brief spin-ups as these storms move through. So Hollywood, I think you're going to be all right now. There's still a lot of lightning in the area, very heavy rain, but most of the lightning is really confined. So the highest area for possible spin-up tornadoes is really where you kind of co-locate all this significant lightning with the high wind here. There's not much lightning over here. Scottsboro, you are under this new tornado warning, but again, the circulation's well northeast of you. As you see, again, I don't see any tornado threat in Scottsboro at all. You've got winds probably 40 miles an hour, and that's it. Moving to the east, maybe a brief 50 mile an hour gust there in Scottsboro. And that's moving towards Dutton, Henniger, Sylvania. But it's the northern part of this polygon as you get to Rosalie and Ider that we are more concerned with the damage potential here and a brief spin-up tornado. So now it's about ready to get up on Sand Mountain, and we will see where it goes from there. So again, tornado warning until 5:30, includes Henniger, Valley Head, Fort Payne, and Rainsville. You are in this tornado warning, but the circulation, there isn't a circulation right now that's going to be threatening you. Even in Sylvania, we've got high winds. You're going to see this coming in, and it's coming in basically from the northeast, so a different direction. A lot of times when we get that Sand Mountain magic, it's because the storms are coming in from the west or the southwest, and you get more of that interaction as it's forced to climb the mountain. That, and there's usually a lot more low-level wind shear with these storms as well. So right now, very high wind coming in. Stevenson just getting hammered with lightning, a lot of lightning. Probably going to have homes struck by lightning. You could have power outages due to the lightning as well. And this maximum lightning is moving toward, I'm just going to track the lightning here as well as this moves to the east. So we've got the most intense lightning in Stevenson right now, tracking east-southeast. Lightning's it's moving about 45 miles an hour or so. So again, Shiloh, you keep showing up on the map here. So again, stand by. You're going to want to be in your hallway for this as it comes in. Shiloh 504, Trenton 511, and Lafayette maybe, or Lafayette. I'm not sure how they pronounce that over there in Georgia, but again, across the Georgia line here around 534 as that moves east-southeast between 45 and 50 miles per hour. We've been on the air for a while now, interrupting golf, unfortunately, for our golf fans out there, but that's just the way it goes. We're tracking these storms as they move in. The Weather Service is issuing the tornado warnings, and we are providing the information and telling you exactly what we see on the radar and kind of interpreting it for you as well. But again, I don't see any tornadic circulations in this line. It continues to move to the east-southeast. We are looking at maximum impact here of very strong winds, a lot of 50, maybe isolated 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and significant lightning within this line. We have a severe thunderstorm warning that continues for areas north of Gunnersville. Again, I don't see anything severe with that storm whatsoever. There's barely any lightning, and it's kind of clearing the area. Get down here towards Hartselle on that boundary. Lightning's picking up. And this thunderstorm, again, it's intense. We may see an isolated severe thunderstorm within this line here on the back edge from Somerville to Hartselle. I don't really see any, there's no velocity here. We're talking winds maybe 20 miles an hour with that. So it's not bad, but it is producing lightning. It looks like this has cleared the Decatur area and up on the north half of Wheeler Lake, looking good out there. Probably boats going back out. We continue to monitor this area thunderstorm activity back here to the west, northwest of Hamilton. These are all kind of diving more to the east-southeast. And I do think this boundary may be cooling us off and may keep us from seeing any severe weather later this evening. We continue to track tornado warned storm. There have been no confirmed tornadoes with this line of thunderstorms. And we'll take a look at the velocity in here one more time. Again, this all just leads to high wind. There's not a lot of low-level wind shear. That's why we're not really looking at tornado threat today, because you really need low-level wind shear for that. Again, these would all be brief spin-up tornadoes, and it's a big if they even develop. So again, I don't see that. I don't see any imminent tornado out there right now. But again, we'll continue the coverage here as the Weather Service continues the tornado warning for these areas. Severe thunderstorm warnings continue for DeKalb, Marshall, Jackson, and Madison County. Hopefully that's about to expire because that storm's not severe. Severe thunderstorm warning until 5:30 for northeastern Marshall, Jackson, southeastern Madison County. So again, we're getting continuous warnings here. I'm going to go through and take a look at some of our viewpoints. I think we're going to go to Gunnersville here. I'm going to type that one. Actually, I think this Decatur one is Gunnersville. So we'll get a view here. Looking off to the north, Lake Gunnersville. In fact, I'm going to go over here and kind of control this camera. Again, Marshall County under a severe thunderstorm warning with this storm right now, as it continues to show strong wind, definitely strong wind from this thunderstorm that's north of Gunnersville. And we're all going to see basically what's called a shelf cloud. It's the lowering of the clouds with these storms. So I've got control here of Gunnersville camera, and we're going to kind of move this around, move to the north. Got a lot of low-lying clouds here north of Gunnersville, but nothing that looks too ominous. And as we kind of go up the river here, you can get to the point where we have the very heavy rain. And again, I also want to bring to your attention the high base of these thunderstorms. Typically, we don't associate a lot of significant severe weather with the high base thunderstorms. And usually they're a lot lower to the ground. And we're really starting to see more of a straight line wind thing here as this continues on. So lightning is very intense in Stevenson, down north of Henniger. And they've got the severe thunderstorm warning out for northern Marshall County, but there's nothing severe here to be concerned with. Everything to be concerned with is pretty much in this white circle, north of Scottsboro over to Henniger, and eventually coming down to the southeast towards Rainsville and Fort Payne and Henniger as well. So this is our severe part of this thunderstorm. It is now up on Sand Mountain. We'll continue to monitor that for any quick changes here within the line, but I don't see any quick changes. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the radar. And we're going to go to the reflectivity here. So again, I'm not making a whole lot of call to action statements. I think you're in your hallway, you're fine as these storms approach. I don't see any strong tornado signatures. And we continue, again, the Weather Service is issuing these warnings. Downstream, they've gone with a severe thunderstorm warning. This is a different warning area. This is Atlanta, Georgia. So again, they're not seeing what's happening here. So again, they are seeing the same radar. They're making a different decision there to go with a severe thunderstorm warning instead of a tornado warning. Again, I don't see any tornado circulations right now, and that's important because it's made that climb up Sand Mountain. But if you're in Shiloh, again, stay away from your windows, get in your hallway as these storms approach. Eider, same thing there. Rosalie, I think it's moving in there right now near Henniger. So we've got Pisgah and Rosalie, very high wind coming in, probably 50, maybe an isolated 60-mile-per-hour wind gust there. And I want to stress we haven't had any reports as of yet either. So let's get tornado warning remains in effect till 5:30 for central Jackson County and northeast DeKalb counties. But no reports of damage. 0 reports of damage from this storm. But it's not to say there hasn't been any damage. It's just if there was significant damage, it would definitely be reported, just like the other day when we had that round of severe weather. Stevenson, Bridgeport, you're all clear. There's still lightning in the area. Keep that in mind. Again, these storms, they're kind of fattening out a little bit. They're expanding out. Usually when they're really narrow, that's when they're more dangerous, and that spin-up tornado threat increases. But we'll stay here until this warning expires. Again, that's 5:30 according to the National Weather Service. Okay, we got tree debris on Highway 35 near the four-way stop with 79 Scottsboro. So again, some tree debris. So we've had some trees down. So there's our first report. But again, these are likely going to be straight line wind damage with the trees. Here's where this product, this shear rate product, is going to be better. We're farther from the radar. We're losing all this, the long line here, and we can get a better view here with storm relative velocity on some of these features as well. But I don't see any tight circulation. We're still, this is a dangerous storm according to the wind here that we're seeing. Again, a lot of people focus too much on where's the tornado. But this is a case where if we get a tornado at all, it's going to be really, really small, probably 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts with it. Whereas the line of thunderstorms itself producing significant wind here coming into Shiloh. All clear here in Stevenson. Rosalie and Pisgah, you'll be all clear here in about 5 minutes. The worst of it is over in Rosalie and Pisgah. Worst of it's probably over in Scottsboro and Dutton as well. It's still about ready to hit pretty hard here in Henniger. So Rosalie, about as bad as it gets right now here for the next 5 minutes. This is moving towards Betty Crossroads. And then Henniger, very high wind here coming into Henniger. I'll go ahead and get in here a little bit closer. We've got Liberty Road, County Road 87, and then Highway 40 as you go into the south side here of Henniger. This is where the maximum wind is. Again, there's this black cloud that covers the entire sky. That's the shelf cloud, the gust front too, so to speak. And what we're watching is any spin-ups along that gust front. May not even come in the true form of what we call the mesocyclone, as you get just the right wind environment out ahead of it that you can get those spin-ups. Here to Shiloh and just to the west of Trenton in Georgia. So Shiloh, you should hunker down for at least the next 5 minutes. It's right over Higdon, tracking to the east. Jackson County EMA is in the office today, so they've been relaying some of those reports. If we get anything, we'll continue to pass it along. Latest update here. Tornado warning continues till 5:30. Again, seeing, I'm looking at the cloud right now. I got lowering of the clouds, but again, you're going to see a lot of low clouds as this approaches Pisgah. Again, a very dark sky here, a very distinct drop off too. Very heavy rain. Again, that will continue to move in as we go through time. So overall, again, we continue with a tornado warning till 5:30. So that's another almost 30 minutes now on these storms as they continue to move to the east. But overall, I don't see any big tornado circulations going on within this line of storms, but it's something we'll just continue to watch for you as we take a look here. Going to get back to the home screen here. So kind of turning on its side. That storm back here, I'm going to update you on the storm southwest of Russellville. Switch over. It's not that bad of a storm either. So again, this one isn't doing a whole lot. It's got a lot of lightning with it. It's got that hook echo shape to it, but it's not rotating in the important part, so to speak, that we would want to watch. and it is going to move southeast of you in Red Bay. But you may be able to actually hear that thunderstorm off in the distance. Quite a bit of lightning. Again, Red Bay, you've got a little bit of rain here coming in. And this storm is going to continue to develop and move east-southeast towards Hamilton and Hackleburg. So I'm going to do a quick storm track on this one for you here. Mainly just the most intense part of that storm, and that's moving southeast. It's moving a little bit slower than the rest of them. I'll put it at about 39 miles an hour. So we're talking Hamilton around 5:49, and may actually move a little more east towards Hackleburg, about 5:45 or so there with that. Phil Campbell, not much going on there. We've got a break here in Russellville. Everything kind of skipped you. That boundary's now south of Hartselle. All clear in Decatur, Athens, Madison, Huntsville for the time being. The watch goes until 11 o'clock this evening. I still don't think it's going to go all the way through because out here to the west, that's what that watch is for, mainly out west here with these thunderstorms. These are not severe, but this will drop in later tonight, probably around 7 or 8 o'clock into the shoals. But these severe thunderstorms here are likely staying just to our south. Atmosphere's a lot more unstable as you get just to the south, and that's one thing we've pretty much been monitoring for the weekend forecast all along. I'm going to go back over here towards Rosalie, Pisgah, Eider, and Rainsville, where we have our active tornado warnings. But again, no confirmation of a tornado yet. A lot of wind, a lot of straight line wind. And Bridgeport, you're all clear. Shiloh, just again, a lot of wind here. If there was a tornado, and a strong tornado at that, I really want to stress that, we'd be all over this. But it's just not the setup today for strong tornadoes. And these are low-end circulations, and they're really starting to see less and less rotation here. I think we're just really basically right now, to be honest with you, we've got a lot of wind, probably 50-mile-per-hour winds here. This line has showed signs of weakening here as it's spreading out. So maybe, I think what we may be seeing is the opposite of Sand Mountain Magic. We may be seeing the climb up the mountain has interrupted the storm, and it's not as intense as it was earlier. But still, it's still producing a big cluster of lightning here, as it has from Stevenson to Shiloh. So the tornado threat, I think, is very low, but the lightning threat is extremely high here. So let me track this area of intense lightning. This could create some power outages, and also this could down trees as well. The lightning's moving a little bit slower than the leading edge. So Rosalie, your lightning is going to really pick up here within the next 10 minutes or so, around 5:08. Shiloh, 5:10. Eider, 5:12. Again, this continues along the state line around 15 after 5. But very intense lightning. That's really one of the bigger risks of this storm as we look at it right now. It's that of lightning, and the secondary is high wind. There's gusty wind here, but overall, the highest wind is now about on the state line. And the biggest area that's impacting you now is lightning. Let me get up here. Just north of Eider, north of Rosalie, Flat Rock, tremendous lightning storm. From there to Fabius and Yucca, and that's really moving into Shiloh. So you're going to get the strong gusty winds towards Cartersville, and then the lightning moves in. So you're like, well, we had strong gusty winds, and then the lightning was nonstop. So again, the lightning is kind of separated from the main updraft on the leading edge of this. And we try to co-locate that, especially when we're tracking the potential for tornadoes. And they're just not located together. So meanwhile, we continue with very heavy rain. And now southeast of Scottsboro. Scottsboro, you're all clear. The worst of the wind and rain right now is in Henniger. There's barely any lightning with that. All the lightning is confined. Again, it's all separated up here just to the north of Eider. I'm going to check the Weather Service chat again real quick. Again, I appreciate you guys tuning in today. Again, we're over here in the far northeast corner of the state. Got a tree down blocking the road, 7000 Highway 35 in Scottsboro. So we've had some areas in around Scottsboro with trees down. Yeah, we've got fire department reporting a wall cloud. Yeah, again, there's going to be a lot of wall cloud reports, or at least look-alike wall cloud reports, just because there's so much going on in this main line. Again, the wall cloud's got to co-locate with a signature on radar. And Let's go back here and take a look at the velocity. Yeah, this is all high wind, straight line wind, probably 50 miles an hour. It's down from earlier. But just the fact we've had so much rain, it's going to take more of a 50, it won't take more than a 50 mile an hour wind to take down some of the trees. We've got the warning is trimmed back now from Henniger to Sylvania to the southeast. As I mentioned earlier, you're all clear now in Dutton and Rosalie and Pisgah, but there's a tremendous amount of lightning. So this may seem worse than what you just had coming through, especially as you get north of Rosalie up here to Eider and Cartersville. And this is where they had that possible wall cloud reported looking west of Cartersville. And it's, again, just straight line wind here. Again, there's so much water in the air, you see every movement of the clouds on a day like today. It's basically early summertime air mass. Don't really see anything on storm relative velocity. And this will be out of the state here in about 15 minutes. This particular storm, the lightning may take a while to subside. But that goes all the way down to Eider and Henniger near Sylvania. So you're still under this tornado warning in Valley Head, Rainsville, Fort Payne, Pine Ridge, Sylvania. But the tornadic circulation that was previously warned for was more on a path for the north of Valley Head. And that's kind of where we have this area of the highest wind from Eider to Henniger. This is straight line wind. This is wind that's blowing this way, away from the radar. It's all away. We don't have any rotation being detected. Again, we're in a really good spot radar-wise to spot a tornado, even a brief spin-up tornado. I've seen it millions of times in this part of Jackson and DeKalb County, and that signature is just not showing up right now. We are seeing very strong wind. The wind probably increasing a little bit here with the latest scan, and this is going to be just to the east of Betty Crossroads and really close to, it's moving onto I-59 now. But again, storm relative, what that's important, you see that SR, it basically takes the storm motion, which is moving southeast, and it adjusts the velocity so you can truly tell exactly the direction and the speed of the rotation. And this is all clearly straight line wind. You kind of mark this line here down to Sylvania. On this side, the wind's basically doing this southwest, and on this side, the wind is basically coming in from the northwest. So again, we've got wind coming this way and then wind coming this way. And that's why sometimes you can see a little bit of circulation on these gust fronts and on this the shelf cloud as it moves in. And this basically shows you just wind, specific wind. But then you subtract the storm motion and you can get the twisting wind there. And the shear rate kind of summarizes all of that. And when it's linear like this usually indicates high wind. Eider, I think you're all clear. Henniger, you're all clear. It's the area roughly between I-59 and the state line here in southern Jackson County and far northern DeKalb County. Scottsboro, you're definitely all clear. Looks like they reissued a severe thunderstorm warning for that. But very heavy rain, a lot of lightning on the way into Georgia. The most intense lightning, again, continues to, it's kind of odd how it just continues to be concentrated in this northern part of this line, just east of Stevenson, pretty much right on top of Eider, a continuous area of lightning. I want to see if the lightning trend is going down or basically staying the same. So I got the lightning strike here. Again, this is the number of lightning strikes. I believe it's in the last 15 minutes. It keeps a count there. So as we loop this, we'll see that we had an intensification of the lightning, and now it's dropping off a little bit. So we peaked at about 240, it looks like, 224, and we're down to 200. So I know that probably doesn't alleviate a lot of concern for the lightning, but again, it's intense lightning here and strong gusty winds. And at the same time, this storm keeps getting wider. This line, we talked about this earlier. It was a much narrower storm, which would increase the wind threat, and now it's fairly wide. This is about 12 miles or so wide at some points, and it was probably only about 5 miles wide, so it's kind of doubled in the thickness, so to speak. Again, no new tornado warning for the National Weather Service office, but a huge severe thunderstorm warning here at, again, the Weather Service office out of Georgia, out of Atlanta, Georgia. So they're going to continue on with severe thunderstorm warnings as this moves east. And again, we don't see any tornado threat here. This is high wind. This is clearly high wind. All clear in Eider, all clear in Henniger. Hammondville, the wind's still picking up there, still strong. And this is still moving towards Mentone. But again, this is a hallway type storm. The main concern is trees falling. Larger trees fall. This is a heavily forested area as well as you get up closer to Lookout Mountain. Back here towards Rainsville, I haven't mentioned you guys much. And the key is when we're doing severe weather coverage and we don't mention your town a lot, that's usually a really good thing because it means that you're not really necessarily in danger. And I don't see that here in Rainsville. You know, it's dark, it's a threatening looking sky, but I don't even see severe winds here moving into Rainsville, much less Shiloh and Fife back here to your south and west. Right now it's 5:15. Current warning is set to expire for another 15 minutes. It looks like the Weather Service is going to keep that up until it gets out of the state completely. But we'll go ahead and loop this here. As that continues to move off to the, again, the east-southeast, most intense part of this is the lightning. So we've got high winds and the potential for lightning strikes taking down trees over there in northern DeKalb County and southern Jackson County. Monitor the Weather Service a little bit more here. Tornado warning expired, will expire at 5:15. I'm not sure which part of DeKalb County this one is because they've had 2 tornado warnings out. So we'll just see. They're going to expire that. The previous one, yeah, expired at 5:15. We got 15 more minutes on the other tornado warning. Again, there's a lot of lowering of clouds. I'm seeing pictures that look like more rain shafts than they do tornado. This is the latest from the Weather Service. Tornado threat in the northern portion of the line has moved into Georgia. Thus, there is no need for a replacement warning. The area still remains under severe thunderstorm warning. But again, the challenge is there's 2 tornado warnings issued for the same county. And that is the southern tornado warning here. But again, I don't see any, there's no circulation here. I'm going to be honest with you. If there was, I'd definitely be calling it out. There's high wind moving into Valley Head, south of Eider, a lot of lightning. So again, this storm is spreading out. There's just a lot of wind here. Hammondville and Valley Head, again, stay away from your windows, kind of storm coming in. And Battelle as well. This is now crossing I-59. And the farther west you get, the less the wind is. So Sylvania, Henniger, I think you're pretty much all clear. I don't think there's a threat in Rainsville either. Yeah, these are just general thunderstorms here on the western side. The most intense area is roughly Henniger, Valley Head, and Eider. That's where the main concern is for any severe weather threat. So most likely straight line winds, but again, there's lightning. There's a lot of lightning out there with that storm. Fort Payne, starting to see a few more showers and thunderstorms enter your area. And as we go farther to the west, a little bit more activity as we go into South Huntsville. And that storm here is weakened a lot too from Hartselle, moving towards Somerville and Eva. This is just heavy rain, maybe a wind gust of 20 miles an hour. So you go from Eva up to Somerville. It's dark, a big dark sky coming in from the north. Falkville, just some rain, but the lightning's really gone away. And I'm hoping this is going to be the case for the rest of the day because, again, that severe thunderstorm watch goes until 11 o'clock. And it's mainly for this other area here to the west. But I think this is pretty good news for the rest of our evening. You've got this cluster of thunderstorms that's not severe. That's where this line actually originated. The one that's in northern DeKalb County right now, this all originated near Memphis around 11 o'clock this morning. It's tracking into the environment that's already been kind of contaminated, so to speak, with the heavier rainfall. So we got what's called a cold pool. It's a lot of cloud cover over here too. And this is going to drop east-southeast. These isolated little thunderstorms here technically, I guess you could call them kind of supercells, but they're not tornado producers. This is mainly some large hail near Tupelo, northwest of Hamilton. Oxford seeing a pounding of very intense lightning, probably some larger hail with that. So I think what's happening here is the area most set up for the possibility of severe storms tonight is going to be this area down here, just off to our south and west, but we'll continue to monitor it for the rest of the evening. Again, coming up on 5:20, the tornado warning set to expire at 5:30 over here in Jackson, actually DeKalb County. Switch back to the radar over here, see if anything's changed since then. Again, Rainsville, I don't see a tornado threat for you. Your sirens have probably sounded a couple times for this storm. This is all high wind from Valley Head, south of Henniger to Sylvania. The lightning's starting to come down a little bit. In fact, let's go back and do that lightning check again. The lightning counter here. Earlier, it was like 200. See, we're down to 137. This storm is weakening, and it continues to weaken. So down to from 224, 234 roughly, now to 138. So a definite weakening trend here with the storm. I don't see any threat for severe, at least a tornado with this storm. I just don't see it. The main area of concern for any possible tornadoes is going to be Valley Head along I-59, but it's a stretch to even say that because there's just nothing showing up here. If you guys want to start the newscast, we can, and we'll just continue to update. You just whisper in my ear whatever you want. Again, we've got a severe thunderstorm over here capable of some damaging winds. I'm going to check the weather service one more time. But again, that warning set to expire at 10 more minutes. But let's see, Franklin County, Tennessee, tree on a house. People got out, minor injuries. Sheriff's Department responded. Delayed report. East Central DeKalb County, again, tornado warning set to expire in 9 minutes. So we'll just continue to monitor this over here. Once again, I really want to stress, we've been on because the Weather Service has had a tornado warning out. There's only a few times where we saw a possible spin up within this line. And we continue to monitor it over here in DeKalb County. There's just no rotation right here at all. This is high wind. This pink area, this is all wind blowing straight southeast from the northwest. I know it looks ominous, especially if you're in Valley Head. You're looking out, the leading edge of this line, there's just a big shelf cloud here, and you're going to get these look-alike tornadoes and look-alike wall clouds, and you're going to get social media probably saying, look at this wall cloud. And again, this is a shelf cloud extending to the southeast out of this thunderstorm with wind gusts around 30 to 40 miles per hour, and you kind of get into the heavy rain aspect of it, and that's where you're going to pick up the potential for some straight line wind damage, 50, maybe 60 miles per hour within this line. The wind velocity is down a bit, but again, we're going to start our newscast here. We'll probably give you a quick update on the news, and I'll be in and out with some weather reports. Again, that tornado warning set to expire here in less than 8 minutes for areas near Valley Head. Again, this is pretty much a hallway storm. Stay away from those windows.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Nolan Crane. We have an update on a shooting in Huntsville from early this morning on Seminole Drive. Huntsville police tell us one of the people shot died at the hospital this afternoon. WAFF 48's Noah Cowell joins us here in the studio. Noah, you were at the scene for several hours. Tell us everything you found out.
Nolan, officers say 2 people were shot and sent to Huntsville Hospital. The person killed has been identified as 34-year-old Alexander Dennis Sr. Officers say the other person was injured in the shooting and is currently in the hospital, but expected to survive. This shooting happened around 4 a.m. outside an apartment complex on Seminole Drive. I talked with a lot of people at the apartment this afternoon, but none of them wanted to go on camera because they don't feel safe. They say they hear gunshots in their complex often, and they say a shooting like this was bound to happen. One woman says she heard the gunshots this morning and came outside to see Alexander Dennis Sr. lying in the street. She says he lived in this complex and had kids and a girlfriend. The woman says Dennis Sr. was with some friends and he was walking them back to their home when he was shot. Police have not yet said if there's a suspect in the shooting.
Thank you, Noah, for that report. Firefighters in Harvest have been busy today responding to a house fire. They say it took almost 500 gallons of water to put this fire out on Maverick Drive. The fire started at 2 a.m. When firefighters arrived, they saw smoke and flames coming from the roof. Despite all the damage, thankfully no one was injured. We have an update on Tuesday's tornado outbreak and the massive power outages they caused in Athens. Utility crews from 4 companies have been working around the clock, restoring power to tens of thousands of customers. Some people were without power until today. That's 5 days of being in the dark. But the good news, crews say all of the power has been restored, even though there's still damage on Lucas Ferry Road. As you may recall, an EF1 tornado hit this area with winds of 105 miles an hour. This, according to the National Weather Service. You can see numerous wooden power poles were snapped. Today, family members of George Floyd visited his grave outside of Houston, Texas. Today is the 5-year anniversary of George Floyd's murder in Minneapolis. He was killed when a police officer knelt on his neck for over 9 minutes after placing him in handcuffs. Today, local leaders held a special worship service in George Floyd's memory. Floyd's death sparked worldwide protests and a movement for racial justice. Here in the Tennessee Valley, similar community events were